Hello, welcome to the Evolved HR. Subscribe to get more useful video. If you are a business owner who wants to consult with us, please check the description box, and who want to get a training, post training in the comments, and team will respond on the same comment. The million-dollar mistake: when bad HR bleeds companies dry. For decades, human resources has been unfairly typecast as the policy police, the department of mandatory trainings, awkward team-building exercises, and endless paperwork. Many CEOs and business leaders view HR as a cost center, a necessary administrative burden rather than a strategic asset. But what happens when that administrative function fails? The numbers are staggering. From catastrophic project failures to embezzlement schemes and discrimination lawsuits, bad HR doesn't just hurt feelings, it burns capital. Here are the stories of how seemingly minor people management oversights cost companies millions, and why ignoring HR is one of the biggest financial risks a business can take. The $10 billion innovation killer, Apple's EV dream. Perhaps the most spectacular recent example of HR failure is Apple's abandoned electric vehicle EV project. After 10 years of development and over $10 billion in investment, the tech giant shuttered its EV ambitions with nothing of value to show for it. According to an analysis by Businessweek, 2 of the 3 primary causes of this catastrophic failure were rooted in HR vulnerabilities. The first was the team's inability to solve massive technical problems, a direct result of a flawed recruiting process that couldn't land the high-level talent needed to crack autonomous driving code. The second issue was rampant turnover. Over its 10-year run, the EV team experienced an executive revolving door with at least 4 different leaders. The most damaging departure occurred in 2021 when Doug Field left Apple to take over electric vehicle efforts at Ford, a primary competitor. In the trenches, layoffs and internal transfers decimated institutional knowledge and morale. Elon Musk famously mocked the situation, calling Apple the Tesla graveyard for hiring engineers Tesla had fired. The lesson? A weak recruiting function doesn't just leave chairs empty, it leaves billion-dollar innovations unbuilt. When HR fails to retain institutional knowledge and secure top-tier talent, even the world's most valuable companies bleed out. The ghost employees, a $2.40 million payroll heist. Sometimes the cost of bad HR isn't a lost opportunity, it's cash directly siphoned out of the bank. A chilling case from a tech firm in Shanghai, China, reads like a corporate thriller. For 8 years, a high-ranking HR manager exploited his exclusive control over hiring and termination procedures. He would formally dismiss employees on paper, but secretly keep them on the payroll. Over time, he created 22 invisible employees, ghosts who had daily attendance logged, official records maintained, and salaries disbursed punctually. No one had ever met these people. One individual, Xiao Son, had been listed as present at work every day for approximately 18 months without ever stepping foot on the premises. The scam unraveled in 2022 when a sharp-eyed employee scrutinized payroll records. By then, the corrupt manager had embezzled a sum equivalent to approximately Rs 20 crore, roughly $2.4 million. This case is a stark reminder that a lack of oversight in HR processes isn't just an administrative gap. It's an open invitation to fraud. Without checks and balances, the very department designed to protect the company can become its biggest liability. The irony of SHRM, an $11.50 million HR failure. Perhaps the most embarrassing example comes from the Society for Human Resource Management, SHRM, an organization that brands itself as the voice of all things work. When sued for racial discrimination by a former employee, SHRM attempted to leverage its expertise in its defense, only to be hit with an $11.5 million judgment. The court found that SHRM's internal investigation into the discrimination claim was handled by an employee who had only undergone 1 training session on HR investigations just a few months prior. Shockingly, this individual admitted that this was the only discrimination claim he had ever investigated. The judge ruled that SHRM's asserted expertise in human resources made it fair game for scrutiny, and the organization lost spectacularly. The takeaway is brutal. Even experts fail when they neglect to train their own staff. Compliance isn't a sign on the wall, it's a practice discipline. The domino effect of a bad hire. You don't need to be a multinational corporation to bleed millions. Bad hires bleed companies dry one paycheck at a time. According to the US Department of Labor, a bad hire can cost a company up to 30% of that employee's first-year earnings. Forbes contributor Krish Chopra learned this lesson during his company's rapid growth phase. Desperate to fill a role, he rushed through the interview process, overlooked red flags, and hired someone who seemed perfect on paper. The result? A $47,000 disaster. But the financial loss was just the beginning. Chopra spent 15+ hours per week trying to coach an employee who wasn't a cultural fit, while other team members had to pick up the slack, leading to burnout. When one person fails in a small business, the domino effect can cripple the entire operation. Replacing an employee can cost anywhere from 50% to 200% of their annual salary depending on seniority. The ripple effects, lost productivity, team disruption, and management distraction often dwarf the direct costs. The compliance time bomb. While Apple and Shrem make headlines, thousands of companies bleed slowly through compliance failures. Ignoring a compliance update might seem harmless until the fines arrive. Walmart famously paid $65 million in a lawsuit for violating brake policies. For companies operating globally, the stakes are even higher. In Germany, authorities actively investigate worker misclassification, and companies can face retroactive social security payments for up to 30 years, fines reaching €500,000, and even criminal charges for directors. A minor classification issue can trigger a multi-million-dollar audit across multiple countries. The verdict: HR isn't a cost center, it's a profit protector. The common thread in all these stories is that HR failures are viewed as operational problems until they become financial catastrophes. Boeing's $45 billion loss, Apple's $10 billion write-down, and Shrem's $11.5 million embarrassment all share a root cause: ignored HR process vulnerabilities. Companies that invest in strategic HR practices don't just avoid losses, they thrive. By shifting from reactive crisis management to proactive risk prevention, businesses can turn HR from a necessary expense into a competitive advantage. The choice is clear: invest in your people operations or prepare to pay for the mistakes. As the cases above prove, the bill always comes due, and it's usually for 7 figures.